Maya Rodriguez stared at her phone screen, her trembling fingers hovering over the send button. The message was desperate, humiliating even, but her 6-month-old daughter's cries from the next room made the decision for her. She pressed send, not realizing she had just texted the CEO of Blackstone Industries instead of her sister. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from. And if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. Within minutes, her doorbell rang. The fluorescent lights in the corner store buzzed overhead as Maya counted the crumpled bills in her wallet for the third time. $12.37, the same amount it had been 5 minutes ago. No matter how desperately she hoped the numbers would change, baby formula cost $18. She was short by nearly $6, and payday wasn't for another 4 days. Maya's daughter Isabella shifted restlessly in the worn baby carrier strapped to her chest. At 6 months old, Isabella had her father's dark eyes and Maya's determined chin, though right now those eyes were growing heavy with hunger-induced exhaustion. "Excuse me?" Maya approached the teenage cashier, her voice barely above a whisper. "Is there any way I could maybe pay the rest later? I live just 2 blocks away, and my baby really needs—" The cashier, whose name tag read Kevin, looked up from his phone with barely concealed annoyance. "Store policy, lady. No credit, no layaway, cash only." Maya felt her cheeks burn with embarrassment. The store wasn't crowded, but the few customers present had turned to look at her. She recognized Mrs. Patterson from her apartment building, who quickly averted her gaze and hurried toward the exit. "Please," Maya tried again, bouncing gently to soothe Isabella, who was beginning to fuss. "I can show you my ID. My apartment." "Lise, I'm good for it, I promise." Kevin shrugged, already looking back at his phone. "Sorry, can't help you." Maya's chest tightened as she walked back toward the baby formula aisle, hoping against hope that maybe she'd missed a cheaper option. The generic brands were still beyond her reach. She pulled out her phone with shaking hands, scrolling through her contacts. Her sister Carmen usually helped when things got this bad, but Carmen was dealing with her own financial crisis after her husband's recent layoff. Her thumb hovered over her mother's number, but she already knew what the response would be. "I told you, having a baby at 22 was a mistake, Mija. You should have listened." The judgment in her mother's voice from their last conversation still stung. Maya found herself in the store's bathroom, sitting on the closed toilet seat, with Isabella in her arms, trying to nurse, despite knowing her milk supply had dwindled from stress and poor nutrition. Isabella latched weakly, then pulled away, crying, her tiny fists clenched in frustration. "I'm sorry, baby," Maya whispered, tears streaming down her face. "Mommy's trying, I promise." She pulled out her phone again, this time opening her text. Messages. Her fingers moved quickly across the screen, typing a message to Carmen. "Carmen, I know things are tight for you too, but Isabella needs formula and I'm short $6. I get paid Friday, I can pay you back then. Please, I'm desperate. She's been crying for hours and I don't have anything left to give her." The message felt pathetic, but Maya was beyond caring about pride. She hit send without looking, then immediately stood up and walked back into the store. Maybe she could find something, anything to trade or sell. 20 minutes later, as Maya was seriously considering whether she could return the small bottle of shampoo she'd bought last week, her phone buzzed. She expected to see Carmen's response, but instead saw an unknown number. "Is this Maya Rodriguez? I received your message about needing baby formula. Please confirm your address. Help is on the way." Maya stared at the message, confused. Carmen's number was saved in her phone, but maybe she was texting from a different number. The formal tone seemed odd, but desperation overrode suspicion. She quickly typed back, "Yes, this is Maya, 1247 Oakwood Avenue, apartment 3B. Thank you so much. Carmen, I owe you everything. The response came immediately. This isn't Carmen, but don't worry, help is coming. Maya's blood ran cold. She quickly scrolled up to check the number she'd sent her original message to. Her heart sank as she realized her mistake. In her haste and panic, she'd accidentally selected C. Blackstone instead of Carmen Rodriguez from her contacts. C. Blackstone. The name had been added to her phone 6 months ago when she'd briefly worked as a night janitor at Blackstone Industries' downtown office building. She'd been required to have all emergency contacts programmed in, including building management and key executives, in case of security issues during her shift. She'd lasted exactly 3 weeks at that job before Isabella's difficult birth and subsequent complications had forced her to quit. The number belonged to Cameron Blackstone, the CEO of one of the city's largest tech companies. Maya's hands shook as the reality of her situation hit her. She'd just sent a desperate, embarrassing plea for help to a billionaire, a man who probably made more money in an hour than she made in a year. She'd exposed her most vulnerable moment to someone who lived in a completely different world. She frantically typed, "I'm so sorry, Mr. Blackstone. I sent that message by mistake. Please ignore it. I'm mortified." But before she could send the apology, her phone rang. The caller ID showed the same number she'd just accidentally texted. Maya stared at the ringing phone, paralyzed. Isabella chose that moment to let out a particularly loud wail, as if sensing her mother's distress. Other customers in the store were starting to stare again, and Maya felt trapped between her crying baby and her ringing phone. Finally, on the 5th ring, she answered. "Hello?" Her voice came out as barely a whisper. "Ms. Rodriguez?" The voice was deep, professional but not unkind. "This is Cameron Blackstone. I received your message." Maya wanted to disappear. "Mr. Blackstone, I'm so incredibly sorry. I made a terrible mistake. I was trying to text my sister and I accidentally—" "Ms. Rodriguez," he interrupted gently. "Are you at home right now?" "No, I'm at the store, trying to buy formula for my daughter, but I—" She trailed off, unable to finish the sentence. "Which store?" Maya hesitated. Part of her wondered if this was some kind of elaborate prank, but the voice sounded genuine, and she was too desperate to care about potential embarrassment. "Murphy's Corner Market on Oakwood Avenue. Stay there. Someone will be with you in 15 minutes. The line went dead. Maya stared at her phone, wondering what she'd just gotten herself into. Isabella had finally exhausted herself and fallen asleep against Maya's chest, her tiny face blotchy from crying. Maya walked back to the formula aisle and sat down on the floor, leaning against the shelves. Other customers gave her a wide berth, but she was too tired to care about appearances anymore. She'd hit rock bottom, and somehow a stranger was offering help. She closed her eyes and tried to make sense of what had just happened. In 15 minutes, she would find out whether Cameron Blackstone was the kind of person who helped desperate mothers, or if this was all some kind of cruel joke. Exactly 14 minutes later, Maya watched through the store's front window as a sleek black SUV pulled into the parking lot. The vehicle looked completely out of place among the rusty sedans and pickup trucks that usually frequented Murphy's Corner Market. A woman in her 30s stepped out of the passenger side, dressed in an elegant navy blazer and carrying what appeared to be several shopping bags. She moved with the confident stride of someone accustomed to handling delicate situations professionally. Maya scrambled to her feet, adjusting Isabella in her carrier. Her heart hammered as the woman approached the store entrance. "Maya Rodriguez?" the woman asked as she entered, her voice warm but businesslike. "That's me," Maya replied, feeling suddenly self-conscious about her faded jeans and oversized sweater. "I'm Jessica Chen, Mr. Blackstone's executive assistant. He asked me to take care of your immediate needs." Jessica's eyes moved to Isabella, and her expression softened. She's beautiful. How old? 6 months, Maya managed, still processing. That this was actually happening. Jessica nodded and walked directly to the baby formula section. Without hesitation, she selected 3 containers of the premium brand formula, then added baby food, diapers, and other essentials to her basket. Maya watched in stunned silence as Jessica methodically gathered items she couldn't have afforded in months. At the register, Kevin the cashier straightened up considerably when Jessica approached. The total came to nearly $200. Jessica handed over a corporate credit card without blinking. "Ms. Rodriguez," Jessica said, turning back to Maya. "Mr. Blackstone would like to know if you have a few minutes to speak with him." Maya's mind raced. "He wants to talk to me? Now?" "He's waiting in the car. Nothing formal, just a brief conversation." "You're not in any trouble," Jessica assured her, seeming to sense Maya's anxiety. "Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time. So if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story." Maya glanced at the bags of supplies, then at Isabella, who was finally sleeping peacefully. "I don't understand why he's doing this. Perhaps he can explain that better than I can," Jessica said gently. "But I can tell you that Mr. Blackstone doesn't make a habit of ignoring people who need help." Against her better judgment, Maya found herself walking toward the SUV. The rear window rolled down as she approached, revealing a man in his late 30s with kind eyes and an expensive suit that somehow looked casual on him. "Miss Rodriguez," Cameron Blackstone said, his voice the same one she'd heard on the phone. "Thank you for trusting me enough to come out here. I know this must be overwhelming." Maya shifted nervously. "Mr. Blackstone, I really don't know how to thank you for the formula and everything, but I can't accept charity. I'll find a way to pay you back." Cameron smiled. "It's not charity, and please, call me Cameron. May I ask what happened to your job at our building? I remember you from the cleaning crew." Maya felt her cheeks burn. Of course he would remember her. She'd probably been the only janitor who'd ever had to bring her newborn to work when childcare fell through. "Isabella was born premature," she explained. "She spent 2 months in the NICU, and I couldn't work. By the time she was healthy enough to come home, I'd lost the job. I've been trying to find something else, but it's hard with a baby and no family nearby to help." Cameron nodded thoughtfully. "What did you do before the cleaning job?" "I was studying business administration at the community college. I had to drop out when I got pregnant, but I was good at it. I maintained a 3.8 GPA. Maya wasn't sure why she was sharing so much, but something about Cameron's genuine interest made her want to be honest. "And Isabella's father?" Maya's expression hardened. "He decided he wasn't ready for fatherhood about 5 minutes after she was born. Haven't heard from him since." Cameron was quiet for a moment, then leaned forward slightly. "Maya, I'm going to make you an offer, and I want you to think about it carefully before you answer." Maya's stomach knotted. She'd heard stories about wealthy men and their offers to desperate women. "I need someone to help coordinate my household staff," Cameron continued. "It's administrative work, mostly scheduling and communication. The position comes with health insurance, a decent salary, and flexible hours that would allow you to bring Isabella to work when necessary." Maya stared at him. "You're offering me a job?" "I'm offering you an opportunity. You'd be working directly with my house manager, Elena Martinez. She's been with my family for 15 years and has raised 3 children of her own. She specifically requested that we find someone who understood the challenges of balancing work and motherhood." "But you don't even know me," Maya protested. "You don't know if I'm reliable or qualified, or I know you're resourceful enough to try to solve your problems without asking for handouts," Cameron interrupted. "I know you're dedicated enough to bring your baby to work rather than abandon your responsibilities, and I know you're honest enough to try to pay back money for baby formula to a stranger." Jessica appeared at Maya's elbow, holding the bags of supplies. Mr. Blackstone, we should head back soon. You have the Henderson meeting at 4. Cameron nodded, then looked back at Maya. I'm not expecting an answer right now. Jessica will give you her card. Think about it over the weekend, and if you're interested, call her Monday morning. Maya felt tears welling up in her eyes. Why are you doing this? I mean, really, why would you help a complete stranger? Cameron's expression grew distant for a moment, because 7 years ago, I was a single father trying to figure out how to raise my daughter alone. I had resources you don't have, but I remember the fear. I remember feeling like I was failing her every day. This was the first mention of Cameron having a daughter, and Maya felt a shift in her understanding of the situation. Where is she now? Maya asked softly. Boarding school in Connecticut. She's 13, and she's the smartest, most stubborn person I know. Cameron's pride was evident in his voice. Her mother died when she was 6, and for a while I thought I was going to lose her too. Not to illness, but to my own incompetence as a parent. Maya felt a connection forming, a shared understanding of the weight of solo parenthood. The job offer is real, Cameron continued. But even if you decide it's not right for you, I want you to know that asking for help doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. The SUV's engine hummed quietly as Maya processed everything that had happened in the past hour. Her life had changed trajectory so quickly that she felt dizzy. I'll call Monday, she said finally. Good. Cameron smiled. And Maya, don't let pride get in the way of giving your daughter the best life possible. Sometimes the best thing we can do for our children is accept help when it's offered. As the SUV pulled away, Maya stood in the parking lot, holding bags of supplies she couldn't have afforded an hour ago, with a job offer that seemed too good to be true, wondering if she'd dreamed the entire encounter. Isabella stirred in her carrier, making soft sounds that meant she was waking up hungry. For the first time in weeks, Maya wasn't worried about how she would feed her daughter, but as she walked back toward her apartment, new questions began forming in her mind. Who was Cameron Blackstone really? What was his story? And why did she get the feeling that this was just the beginning of something much larger than a simple job offer? Maya spent the entire weekend pacing her tiny apartment, Jessica Chen's business card burning a hole in her pocket. She'd researched Cameron Blackstone online until her eyes hurt, learning about his tech empire, his charitable foundations, and his reputation as a demanding but fair employer. What she couldn't find was any mention of his daughter or his late wife. The internet painted him as a mysterious bachelor who valued privacy above all else. By Sunday evening, Maya had convinced herself that the job offer was too good to be true. People like Cameron Blackstone didn't hand out opportunities to people. Like her, there had to be a catch. Monday morning arrived grey and drizzling. Maya had been up since 5 a.m., feeding Isabella and rehearsing what she would say when she called Jessica. She'd decided to decline the offer politely. It was safer to stick with what she knew, even if what she knew was struggling to make ends meet. But as she stood at her kitchen window, watching her neighbors leave for work while she remained stuck in her apartment with no prospects, something inside her rebelled against the familiar pattern of self-doubt. She dialed Jessica's number before she could change her mind. Jessica Chen speaking. Ms. Chen, this is Maya Rodriguez, about the position Mr. Blackstone mentioned. Maya, I was hoping you'd call. Are you interested? I think so, but I have questions. Of course. Why don't you come in this afternoon? You can meet Elena Martinez, see the work environment, and get a better sense of what the job would involve. 2 hours later, Maya stood outside the gates of the Blackstone estate in the affluent Riverside Hills neighborhood. The house was impressive, but not ostentatious. A sprawling, craftsman-style home surrounded by mature oak trees and carefully maintained. Gardens. Elena Martinez answered the door before Maya could knock. She was a woman in her 50s with silver-streaked hair and laugh lines around her eyes. Her warm smile immediately put Maya at ease. You must be Maya, and this beautiful girl must be Isabella. Elena's accent carried hints of her Mexican heritage, and she cooed softly at Isabella in Spanish. Come in, mija, let me show you around. The interior of the house was elegant but lived in. Family photos lined the hallways, and Maya caught glimpses of a young girl with Cameron's eyes at various ages, gap-toothed and grinning in a school photo, serious and focused at a piano recital, laughing while covered in paint at what looked like a summer camp. That's Sophia, Elena said, noticing Maya's attention. She's at Westfield Academy now, but she comes home every few weeks. She's the light of Cameron's life, though he'd never admit how much he worries about her. Elena led Maya to a comfortable office adjacent to the main kitchen. The space was organized, but not sterile, with a large desk, filing cabinets, and a sitting area with toys scattered on the floor. The previous assistant left to have her own. Baby, Elena explained. The job involves coordinating schedules for the household staff, managing appointments, handling correspondence, and basically making sure everything runs smoothly. Cameron travels frequently for business, so organization is crucial. Maya sat down, adjusting Isabella in her lap. What kind of hours are we talking about? Flexible. Cameron understands that Isabella comes first. Sometimes you might need to work evenings when he's hosting business dinners, but usually it's regular daytime hours, and Isabella is welcome here any time. As if on cue, Isabella began to fuss. Eleanor immediately stood up. She's hungry, isn't she? There's a quiet room just down the hall where you can nurse her, or I can prepare a bottle if you prefer. Maya was struck by Elena's matter-of-fact acceptance of Isabella's needs. At her previous jobs, she'd always felt like a burden when she had to tend to her daughter. Why is Mr. Blackstone doing this? Maya asked as Elena prepared a bottle with practiced efficiency. I mean, really, this seems like a lot of effort for someone he doesn't know. Eleanor's expression grew thoughtful. Cameron doesn't talk about his personal life much, but I've worked for this family for 15 years. I was here when his wife Sarah was diagnosed with cancer. I watched him try to balance building his company with taking care of her and baby Sophia. I saw him fall apart when Sarah died. She handed Maya the bottle, and Isabella latched onto it, eagerly. For a while after Sarah's death, Cameron threw himself into work completely. He was never home, never available for Sophia. He thought providing financially was enough. It took him almost losing Sophia to realize that money can't replace presence. What do you mean, almost losing her? Elena sat back down, her expression growing serious. When Sophia was 9, she stopped talking to him completely, wouldn't eat dinner with him, wouldn't participate in family activities. She was angry and grieving, and Cameron didn't know how to reach her. That's when he hired me full-time and restructured his entire life around being present for his daughter. Maya felt a chill of recognition. She'd seen the same anger in children at the daycare where she'd briefly worked. Kids whose parents were physically present but emotionally absent. He learned that being a good parent isn't about having resources, Elena continued. It's about being available, being present, being willing to put your child's needs first. I think when he saw your message, he recognized something of his own struggle. But I'm not asking for handouts, Maya said quietly. I just want to provide for my daughter. Exactly. That's what he respects. You're not looking for someone to solve all your problems. You're looking for an opportunity to solve them yourself. Before Maya could respond, the front door opened, and Cameron's voice carried through the house. Elena, I'm back early. Did Maya... He appeared in the doorway, still in his business suit, but with his tie loosened and his sleeves rolled up. Maya, I'm glad you came. Mr. Blackstone. Maya stood, still holding Isabella. Elena has been explaining the position. And what do you think? Maya took a deep breath. I think I'm scared. This seems too good to be true, and I'm worried about what happens if I fail. Cameron's expression softened. What happens if you don't try? The question hung in the air between them. Maya looked down at Isabella, who had finished her bottle and was looking around the room with alert curiosity. I want to try, Maya said finally, but I need to know what you expect from me. I need to understand why you're willing to take this risk. Cameron sat down across from her, his posture relaxed but his attention focused. I expect you to be reliable, organized and honest. I expect you to tell me when you're struggling, instead of trying to hide it. And I expect you to remember that taking care of your daughter is not a burden. It's your most important job. And in return, you get a salary that will allow you to support yourself and Isabella with dignity. You get health insurance, paid time off, and the flexibility to be the mother you want to be. You get the chance to finish your degree if you choose to. We have tuition assistance programs. Maya felt tears threatening again. Why do I feel like there's more to this story? Cameron exchanged a glance with Elena, who nodded almost imperceptibly. Because there is, Cameron said quietly, but some stories take time to tell. Right now, the only thing that matters is whether you're willing to take the first step. Maya looked around the room. At Elena's encouraging smile, at Cameron's patient expression, at the evidence of a life built around love and family rather than just success and money. When do I start? Maya's first week at the Blackstone estate flew by in a whirlwind of schedules, vendor calls, and learning the intricate rhythms of a household that operated like a well-oiled machine. Elena had been right about the flexibility. Isabella was welcomed by everyone from the gardening crew to the part-time housekeeper, Mrs. Thompson. By Thursday, Maya had settled into a routine that felt almost too good to be real. She arrived each morning at 8, settled Isabella in the office playpen that Elena had mysteriously produced, and dove into coordinating everything from grocery deliveries to Cameron's increasingly complex travel schedule. What surprised her most was how rarely she actually saw Cameron himself. He left early for the office most days and returned late, often after Maya had already gone home. Their interactions were limited to brief emails and the occasional hallway greeting. She was beginning to wonder if she'd imagined the depth of their conversation in the SUV that first day. Friday afternoon changed everything. Maya was updating the household calendar when she heard shouting from the main part of the house. Cameron's voice, usually calm and controlled, was raised in obvious frustration. I don't care what the school policy is, Jessica. She's my daughter, and if she needs to come home, she comes home. Maya tried to focus on her work, but the conversation was impossible to ignore. No, I can't fly to Connecticut right now. I have the Morrison deal closing Monday, and 3 department heads threatening to quit if I don't address their concerns this week. Isabella, sensing the tension in the air, began to fuss in her playpen. Maya picked her up, bouncing gently to keep her calm, then find another solution. She can't stay there if she's not eating, Jessica. I won't have my daughter. Cameron's voice broke off as he appeared in the office doorway, phone still pressed to his ear. He looked harried in a way Maya had never seen. His usually perfect hair was disheveled, his shirt wrinkled, and there were dark circles under his eyes. I'll call you back, he said into the phone, then ended the call. I'm sorry, Maya said quickly. I couldn't help but overhear. Is everything okay with Sophia? Cameron ran a hand through his hair. She's been having a difficult time at school. Not academically, she's brilliant, but socially, she's struggling. The school counselor says she's not eating properly, not sleeping well. They want me to come get her for a long weekend, but I can't leave right now. Maya watched as he paced the small office, his usual composure completely shattered. This was the man she'd researched online, the CEO who commanded boardrooms and made million-dollar decisions daily. but right now he looked like nothing more than a worried father. "How old did you say she was?" Maya asked. 13, almost 14. Cameron stopped pacing and looked at Maya with desperate eyes. "I know I should drop everything and go to her, but if I don't handle these business crises, I could lose key people. And if I lose key people, the company suffers, which means I can't provide for Sophia the way she deserves." "That's quite a trap," Maya observed gently. Cameron's laugh was bitter. "Story of my life. Every choice feels like I'm failing her in some way." Isabella had stopped fussing and was now staring at Cameron with the intense curiosity that babies have for people in distress. Almost without thinking, Maya stepped closer. "Can I ask you something?" Cameron nodded. "When you offered me this job, you said something about remembering the fear of failing your daughter every day. Is this what you meant?" "Part of it." Cameron's shoulders sagged. Sarah was so much better at this. She knew how to balance everything, how to make Sophia feel secure even when life was chaotic. "Since she died, I feel like I'm constantly choosing between being a good father and being a good provider." Maya was quiet for a moment, processing. Then she said something that surprised even herself. "What if you didn't have to choose?" Cameron looked at her sharply. "What do you mean?" "I mean, what if there was a third option? What if Sophia came here for the weekend instead of you going there? Here." Cameron's eyebrows rose. "But she doesn't know you, and Elena's visiting her own grandchildren this weekend, and I'll be here," Maya said simply. "I have experience with teenagers from my volunteer work at the community center. Isabella and I were planning to be home alone this weekend anyway. What if Sophia came here and you could handle your business meetings but still be present for her in the evenings?" Cameron stared at her. "You would do that? You barely know us." "I know enough," Maya replied. "I know you're a father who loves his daughter and is trying to do right by her. I know what it feels like to worry about failing your child, and I know that sometimes the best solutions are the ones we don't think of when we're panicking." For the first time since she'd started working there, Maya saw Cameron's carefully maintained professional facade completely disappear. His relief was palpable. "She can be difficult," he warned, "especially with new people. She's been through a lot, and she doesn't trust easily." "Neither do I," Maya said with a small smile. "We'll figure it out." 3 hours later, Maya found herself standing in the driveway as a black sedan pulled up. Her stomach was doing somersaults as she realized she'd just volunteered to spend the weekend with a grieving teenager she'd never met. The car door opened, and Sophia Blackstone stepped out. She was taller than Maya had expected from the photos, with long, dark hair that fell across her face like a curtain. She wore the standard prep school uniform, khaki skirt, navy blazer, knee socks, but everything about her posture screamed rebellion. Her backpack was covered in patches and pins that definitely weren't school-approved, and she had earbuds in, despite the fact that she'd just gotten out of a car. Cameron emerged from the house, his relief at seeing his daughter evident, even from a distance. "Sophie," he said, opening his arms. Sophia looked at him for a long moment, then stepped into the hug. But Maya could see the tension in her shoulders, the way she held herself apart, even while accepting her father's embrace. "Dad said, you're the new assistant," Sophia said when Cameron introduced them. Her voice was carefully neutral, but her eyes were assessing Maya with the sharp intelligence of someone much older than 13. "That's right. I'm Maya, and this is Isabella." Maya shifted the baby carrier so Sophia could see Isabella, who chose that moment to give one of her biggest, most charming smiles. For just a second, Sophia's carefully maintained composure cracked, and Maya caught a glimpse of the child underneath the attitude. "She's cute," Sophia admitted reluctantly. "She likes you already," Maya said. "Babies are good judges of character." Sophia's mouth twitched in what might have been the beginning of a smile. Cameron cleared his throat. "I hate to leave so soon after you got here, sweetheart, but I have A conference call with Tokyo in 20 minutes. Maya's offered to— I know what Maya offered, Sophia interrupted, her wall immediately back up. You explained it on the phone. Don't worry, Dad. I'm used to being handed off to strangers. The words hit Cameron like a physical blow, and Maya felt her heart break a little for both of them. Sophia, Cameron started, but she was already walking toward the house. It's fine, Dad, really. Just do what you need to do. Maya watched Cameron struggle with the choice between following his daughter and handling his responsibilities. The same impossible balance he'd been talking about all week. Go, Maya said quietly. I've got this. But as Sophia disappeared into the house and Cameron reluctantly headed to his office, Maya wondered if she'd just made a promise she couldn't keep. Maya found Sophia in the kitchen, standing in front of the open refrigerator with a blank expression. She'd changed out of her school uniform into ripped jeans and an oversized black hoodie that seemed designed to make her disappear. Hungry? Maya asked, settling Isabella's carrier on the kitchen island. Sophia shrugged without turning around. Not really. Maya had worked with enough teenagers to recognize the signs. Sophia wasn't just being difficult, she was protecting herself the only way she knew how. By keeping everyone at arm's length, she couldn't be disappointed when they inevitably left or let her down. Well, I'm starving, Maya said, moving to the pantry. And Isabella will need solid food soon. Mind if I cook something? Another shrug. But Sophia closed the refrigerator and leaned against the counter, watching Maya with guarded curiosity. Maya began pulling ingredients from the well-stocked pantry, mentally cataloguing what she could make with what was available. Do you cook at all? Mom used to teach me, Sophia said quietly, then immediately looked like she regretted the admission. Maya's hands stilled for a moment. This was the first time Sophia had mentioned her mother, and Maya sensed she was standing on fragile ground. What was her favorite thing to make? Maya asked casually, continuing to gather ingredients. Empanadas. Sophia's voice was barely audible. She said her grandmother taught her the recipe in Puerto Rico, and she was going to teach me when I was older. But she died before you were ready, Maya finished gently. Sophia nodded, her throat working as she swallowed hard. Maya looked at the ingredients in her hands. Ground beef, onions, garlic, spices. She'd learned to make empanadas from her own grandmother years ago, back when her family relationships weren't complicated by pride and disappointment. I know how to make empanadas, Maya said. My abuela taught me when I was about your age. Want to learn? Sophia's head shot up, her eyes wide with something that looked like hunger, but not for food. You'd teach me? If you want to learn. Fair. Warning though, I'm not as good as my grandmother was, and I'm definitely not as good as your mom probably was. I don't remember how good she was, Sophia admitted, moving closer to the counter. I just remember that the kitchen always smelled amazing when she was cooking, and Dad would dance with her while she stirred things. Maya felt her chest tighten at the image. That sounds beautiful. It was, before she got sick anyway. They worked in companionable silence for a while, Maya showing Sophia how to dice onions without crying and season the meat mixture. Isabella gurgled happily from her carrier, occasionally reaching for the colorful vegetables. Why did you offer to watch me this weekend? Sophia asked suddenly, her knife pausing mid-chop. Maya considered her answer carefully. Because your dad was scared, and I recognized that fear. Scared of what? Of failing you, of making the wrong choice, of not being enough. Sophia snorted. He's a billionaire. How is that not enough? Money doesn't fix everything, Maya said, beginning to roll out dough. It doesn't cure loneliness or grief or the feeling that you're disappointing the people you love most. Sophia was quiet for a long moment. Is that why you needed baby formula? Because money doesn't fix everything? Maya's hands stilled. She hadn't expected Sophia to know about the circumstances that had brought her to Cameron's attention. Elena told me, Sophia continued. She said you accidentally texted my dad asking for help. Yes, Maya said simply. I was desperate, and I made a mistake that turned into this. Do you think it was really a mistake? Maya looked up sharply. What do you mean? I mean, what are the odds? Out of all the numbers in your phone, you accidentally text the one person who would actually help you, and not just help you, but offer you a job and change your whole life. Maya had wondered the same thing, but hearing it from a 13-year-old made it sound even more improbable. I don't know, Maya admitted. Sometimes I think the universe has a sense of humor, or maybe some people are just meant to find each other, Sophia said quietly. They continued cooking, the empanadas taking shape under their hands. Sophia was a quick learner, her movements becoming more confident as she got the hang of folding the dough. Can I ask you something? Sophia said as they waited for the first batch to bake. Sure. Do you think my dad is lonely? The question caught Maya off guard. Why do you ask? Because he never talks about dating anyone, and Elena says he works all the time when I'm not here. He didn't used to be like that when Mom was alive. He used to laugh more. Maya chose her words carefully. I think your dad loves you very much, and he's trying to figure out how to be both a father and a person at the same time. That's hard for anyone, but especially when you're grieving. I miss her too, Sophia said, her voice cracking slightly. But sometimes I feel like I'm not allowed to move on because Dad hasn't. Maya felt her heart break a little more. What do you mean? Like at school, there are other kids whose parents have died. Some of them talk about their parent in past tense, like they're at peace with it. But Dad still talks about Mom like she just stepped out of the room and might come back any minute. This was dangerous territory, but Maya sensed that Sophia needed to say these things out loud. That must be confusing for you. It is, because part of me wants to keep her memory alive, but part of me wants to stop feeling sad all the time, and I don't know how to do both. The oven timer went off, and Maya pulled out the first batch of empanadas. They were golden brown and smelled exactly like she remembered from her grandmother's kitchen. Want to know a secret? Maya said, plating the empanadas. Grief isn't something you get over. It's something you learn to carry, and everyone carries it differently. Sophia took a bite of the empanada, closing her eyes as she chewed. It tastes like I remember. Good. That means we did it right. Maya, Sophia's voice was small again. Do you think it's okay that I like you? Maya felt tears prick her eyes. What do you mean? I mean, I don't want Dad to think I'm replacing Mom or anything, but I haven't felt normal around a grown-up in a long time. Most of the adults in my life either treat me like I'm made of glass or like I'm a problem to be solved. And I don't do either of those things. No, you treat me like I'm just a person who happens to be sad sometimes, but still a person. Maya reached across the counter and squeezed Sophia's hand. You are just a person. A smart, funny, complicated person who's been through something terrible and is still here, still fighting, still learning to make empanadas. That's pretty amazing. For the first time since she'd arrived, Sophia smiled, really smiled, and Maya caught a glimpse of the girl she might have been in a world without loss. Can we make some for Dad, for when he's done with his meetings? Of course. And Sophia, yeah. It's okay to like people. It's okay to let people in. It doesn't mean you love your mom any less. Sophia nodded, tears streaming down her face, but she didn't stop smiling. They spent the rest of the afternoon cooking and talking, building something fragile but real between them. And when Cameron finally emerged from his office that evening, the smell of empanadas guided him to a kitchen filled with laughter, where his daughter was teaching a 6-month-old baby how to clap while Maya cleaned flour from every conceivable surface. For the first time in years, his house felt like a home. 3 weeks later, Maya had settled into a rhythm at the Blackstone estate that felt surprisingly natural. Sophia had returned to school, but called every evening to talk to both her father and Maya. The conversations had evolved from awkward check-ins to genuine exchanges about everything from homework frustrations to gossip about her roommate's crush. On the chemistry teacher, Maya was reorganizing Cameron's travel schedule when her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. The message made her blood run cold. "Saw your picture in the society pages with your rich boyfriend. Guess you landed on your feet after all. We need to talk." Derek. Maya's hands trembled as she stared at the screen. Derek, Isabella's father, had been silent for over 7 months. No child support, no phone calls, no acknowledgement that he had a daughter. Maya had almost convinced herself he was gone for good. She quickly Googled Blackstone society pages and found what Derek had seen, a photo from a charity gala last weekend where Cameron had needed a last-minute companion after his original date was cancelled. Maya had borrowed a dress from Eleanor's daughter and accompanied him purely as a professional courtesy. The photo showed them laughing at something Cameron had said, with Isabella sleeping peacefully in Maya's arms. The caption read, "Tech mogul Cameron Blackstone, with mysterious companion at the Children's Hospital fundraiser." Maya's stomach churned. The photo looked intimate in a way that the evening hadn't felt. Cameron had been charming and attentive, but she'd attributed that to his natural politeness. Seeing it through Derek's eyes, through anyone's eyes, she realized how easily their professional relationship could be misinterpreted. Her phone buzzed again. "Coffee tomorrow. 2 p.m. Riverside Cafe. Don't make me come to your fancy new workplace." Maya stared at the message, her mind racing. Derek was unpredictable on his best days, and she had no idea what he wanted after all this time. The last thing she needed was him causing problems at the Blackstone estate. She was still staring at her phone when Cameron appeared in the doorway. "Maya? Everything okay? You look like you've seen a ghost." Maya quickly locked her phone. "I'm fine, just family stuff." Cameron's expression shifted to concern. "Anything I can help with?" The offer was genuine, but Maya couldn't imagine explaining Derek to Cameron. How could she tell her employer, who had shown her nothing but kindness and respect, that Isabella's father was a deadbeat who was now possibly trying to extort money from her? "It's nothing I can't handle," she said, forcing a smile. But Cameron knew her well enough by now to recognize when she was deflecting. "Maya, part of the reason this arrangement works is because we're honest with each other. If something's wrong, I'd rather know about it than watch you struggle alone." Maya felt tears threatening. The kindness in his voice only made her more aware of how precarious her situation really was. What would happen when Cameron realized she came with baggage, when he discovered that employing her might mean dealing with drama he never signed up for? "It's Isabella's father," she said finally. "He's been completely absent since she was born, but now he wants to meet." That's good, isn't it? For Isabella to have her father in her life. Maya's laugh was bitter. Derek isn't father material. He disappeared the moment things got real. He's not interested in being a parent. He's interested in whatever he thinks he can get. Cameron's expression darkened. "What does he want?" "I don't know yet, but he saw the photo of us at the gala, and he's making assumptions about my financial situation that aren't true." "Ah." Cameron leaned against the doorframe, his mind clearly working. "He thinks you've upgraded your circumstances and wants a piece of it." "Probably. Derek has always been good at spotting opportunities that don't require actual work. Where are you meeting him?" "I haven't decided if I'm going to meet him at all." Cameron was quiet for a moment. "Maya, can I ask you something without overstepping?" She nodded. "Do you have any legal documentation regarding Isabella's custody or Derek's parental rights?" Maya's stomach dropped. "No. I mean, he's on the birth certificate, but we were never married, and he's never paid child support or..." "Why?" Because if he's been completely absent and hasn't provided any support, you might have options for protecting yourself and Isabella legally. But you should talk to a lawyer. I can't afford a lawyer. The company has a legal department. They handle personal matters for employees as part of their benefits package. Maya stared at him. You would do that? Maya, you're not just an employee. You're... Cameron paused, seeming to choose his words carefully. You're important to this family, to Sophia, to Elena, to me. If someone is threatening to disrupt your life, then they're threatening to disrupt ours as well. The intensity in his voice surprised her. There was something protective, almost possessive in his tone that made her pulse quicken. I should handle this myself, she said quietly. You don't have to handle everything yourself. That's what I learned. When Sarah was sick, sometimes accepting help isn't weakness, it's wisdom. Before Maya could respond, her phone rang. Derek's name flashed on the screen. Cameron nodded toward the phone. Answer it, but put it on speaker. Cameron, I don't think... Trust me. Against her better judgment, Maya answered the call and activated the speaker function. Maya, finally! I was starting to think you were avoiding me. Derek's voice filled the office, and Maya winced at how different he sounded, smoother, more calculating than she remembered. What do you want, Derek? Can't a guy want to see his daughter? I've been thinking about Isabella a lot lately, wondering how she's doing, if she needs anything. She's needed things for 7 months. Where were you then? Derek laughed, a sound that used to make Maya's heart flutter, but now made her skin crawl. I know I haven't been around, babe. I was figuring some things out. But I'm in a better place now, and I want to be part of Isabella's life. What kind of better place? Well, I've got some new business opportunities lined up. Investment possibilities. But you know how these things work. Sometimes you need a little capital to get started. There it was. Maya caught Cameron's eye, and his expression had gone completely cold. How much? Maya asked. Come on, Maya. This isn't about money. This is about family. Though I have to say, looks like you've done pretty well for yourself lately. That's a nice dress in that photo. Maya's hands clenched into fists. That photo doesn't mean what you think it means. Doesn't it? Rich guy, fancy party, you looking like you belong there. I'm proud of you, babe. You always were smart about positioning yourself. Cameron stepped forward, his voice cutting through Derek's rambling. This is Cameron Blackstone, and this conversation is over. The silence on the other end of the line stretched for several seconds. Well, well, Derek finally said, his tone shifting to something uglier. The boss man himself. Tell me, Cameron, how much is Maya worth to you? Because I'm thinking joint custody arrangements might be pretty expensive for someone in your position. Cameron's voice was dangerously quiet. Are you threatening Ms. Rodriguez? I'm just saying that I'm Isabella's father and I have rights. Rights that might be very inconvenient for someone who values their privacy as much as you do. Maya felt sick. This was exactly what she'd been afraid of. Derek turning her life into leverage against Cameron. Derek, don't! She started, but Cameron held up a hand. Mr. Thompson, I suggest you contact a lawyer before you say anything else. Because what you're describing sounds remarkably like extortion, which is a federal crime. Hey, I'm not threatening anyone. I just want to be part of my daughter's life. And if that creates complications for certain people, well, that's not my fault. The line went dead. Maya sank into her chair, feeling like her carefully constructed new life was crumbling around her. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry. I'll resign. I'll disappear. You don't need this kind of trouble. Cameron moved around the desk and knelt beside her chair. Maya, look at me. When she met his eyes, she saw determination, not disappointment. You're not going anywhere, and neither is Isabella. We're going to handle this together. The next morning, Maya found herself sitting in the pristine conference room of Blackstone Industries' legal department. feeling completely out of place. Isabella gurgled contentedly in her carrier, oblivious to the gravity of the situation unfolding. Around her, Margaret Walsh, the head of corporate legal, was a sharp woman in her 50s who had the kind of confidence that came from winning battles in courtrooms for over 2 decades. She reviewed the documents Maya had brought with clinical efficiency. So, Mr. Thompson has had no contact with Isabella since her birth, has provided no financial support, and has never attempted to establish any kind of custody arrangement? Margaret asked, making notes on a legal pad. None, Maya confirmed. Until yesterday, I thought he'd forgotten we existed. Margaret exchanged a glance with Cameron, who had insisted on being present, despite Maya's protests that this was her problem to solve. The good news is that his complete abandonment actually works in your favor legally, Margaret continued. In most states, including this one, a father who has provided no support and had no contact for an extended period can be considered to have forfeited his parental rights. But he's on the birth certificate, Maya said. That establishes paternity, not custody rights. Those are 2 different things. Margaret leaned forward. However, we need to be prepared for the possibility that he'll file for visitation or partial custody as a way to maintain leverage over you. Cameron's jaw tightened. Can he do that? Just show up after 7 months and demand access to Isabella? Legally, yes. Family courts generally favor parental involvement, even when it's inconveniently timed. But given his history of abandonment and his apparent financial motivations, we can challenge any custody petition he files. Maya felt overwhelmed by the legal terminology and implications. What does all this mean in practical terms? Can he take Isabella away from me? Not immediately and not easily, Margaret assured her, but he can make your life complicated. He can file for visitation rights, demand paternity tests, request modification of support arrangements. Each legal action costs time and money, even if we ultimately win, which is exactly what he's counting on, Cameron said grimly. He knows Maya can't afford a prolonged legal battle, and he's hoping to pressure her into paying him to go away. Margaret nodded. It's a common extortion tactic. The question is how we want to respond. Maya's phone buzzed with a text message. Derek's name on the screen made her stomach lurch. Thought about our conversation yesterday. Still want to meet. Today, 2 p.m. Don't bring your boyfriend. Margaret glanced at the message. He's persistent. That actually helps our case. It shows his motivations aren't about Isabella's welfare. You want me to meet with him? Maya asked, incredulous. Not alone, Cameron said immediately, and not without a plan. Margaret tapped her pen thoughtfully. Actually, a recorded conversation could be valuable evidence if he makes any explicit threats or demands for money, but we'd need to be very careful about how we handle it. Maya felt like she was drowning in strategies and legal maneuvers when all she wanted was to protect her daughter and keep the life she'd built from falling apart. "Can I ask you something?" she said, looking directly at Cameron. "Why are you doing this?" Derek is right about one thing. This could get messy and very public. Bad publicity for you, complications for your business. It would be easier to just let me go. Cameron was quiet for a long moment, his expression unreadable. When he spoke, his voice was steady but intense. "Do you remember what I told you about almost losing Sophia?" Maya nodded. "What I didn't tell you was that the reason she shut me out wasn't just grief. It was because I kept making decisions based on what I thought was best for her without actually listening to what she needed. I prioritized protecting her over understanding her." He leaned forward in his chair. "When you accidentally texted me that first day, you weren't asking me to solve your problems. You were asking for the chance to solve them yourself. That's what I respect about you, Maya. You're not looking for someone to rescue you. You're looking for someone to believe in you." Maya felt tears threatening. "But this situation with Derek, is someone trying to punish you for being strong?" Enough to build a better life for yourself and Isabella. I'm not going to stand by and watch that happen." Margaret cleared her throat diplomatically. "Perhaps we should focus on the immediate tactical decisions. Maya, are you willing to meet with Mr. Thompson this afternoon if we can ensure your safety and document the conversation?" Maya looked at Isabella, who was starting to fuss in her carrier. Everything she'd worked for, everything she'd built, was being threatened by someone who had never cared enough to even ask if his daughter was healthy. "Yes," she said firmly, "but I want to understand exactly what we're trying to accomplish." Margaret smiled approvingly. "We're trying to get him to reveal his true motivations on record. If he makes specific financial demands or threatens to disrupt your employment as leverage, we can use that evidence to petition the court for a restraining order and potentially pursue criminal charges for extortion." Cameron pulled out his phone. "I'll have security set up surveillance at the cafe, discreet but thorough. And I'll be monitoring from a nearby location," Margaret added. "You'll have an emergency contact and a predetermined signal if you need to end the conversation immediately." Maya felt a surge of something she hadn't experienced in a long time, the feeling of having people in her corner. Not just offering charity or pity, but actually fighting alongside her. 2 hours later, Maya sat across from Derek in a corner booth at Riverside Cafe, trying to reconcile the man in front of her with the charming, impulsive boy she'd fallen for in college. He looked older, harder around the edges, with the kind of practiced smile that didn't reach his eyes. "You look good, Maya," he said, signaling the waitress for coffee. "Really good. Motherhood agrees with you." "Cut the charm, Derek. What do you want?" His smile faltered slightly. "Straight to business, huh? I guess that fancy job has changed you." "Having a daughter changed me. The job is just a job." Derek leaned back in his booth, studying her with calculating eyes. "Come on, Maya. We both know it's more than that. I did some research on your boss. Cameron Blackstone, tech billionaire, widower, philanthropist, and there you are on his arm at charity galas, living in his world. I accompanied him to one event as part of my job responsibilities." "Is that what you're calling it?" Derek's tone turned ugly, "Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you traded up, abandoned your old life, your old friends, found yourself a rich daddy for our daughter." Maya's hands clenched in her lap. "Isabella has never had a father. You made sure of that when you walked out. I was young, Maya, scared. I wasn't ready for that kind of responsibility. And you think you're ready now?" Derek's mask slipped completely. "I think I'm ready to be part of Isabella's life, and I think your new boss would be very motivated to make sure that transition goes smoothly." "There it is," Maya said quietly. "How much? How much what? How much money do you want to stay away from Isabella?" Derek had the grace to look slightly ashamed, but not enough to back down. "This isn't about money, Maya. This is about doing right by our daughter, making sure she has everything she needs." "She has everything she needs." "Does she? Because last I checked, you were begging strangers for baby formula. What happens when your rich boyfriend gets bored? What happens when he decides you're more trouble than you're worth?" The words hit harder than Maya expected, because they echoed her own deepest fears. "Cameron isn't my boyfriend. Maybe not yet, but you want him to be, don't you? I can see it. In the way you look when you say his name." Maya felt heat rise in her cheeks, hating that Derek could still read her so easily. "Let me make this simple for you," Derek continued, leaning forward. "I want $50,000, a one-time payment to help me get established in my new business venture. In return, I'll sign away my parental rights and disappear permanently." "And if I don't pay?" Derek's smile was cold. "Then I file for joint custody. I drag you through months of court battles, character witnesses, investigations into your living situation." I make sure everyone knows that Cameron Blackstone's employee is involved in a messy custody dispute with a man who claims she's using their daughter to manipulate her wealthy employer. Maya stared at him, finally seeing Derek clearly for perhaps the first time. You destroy Isabella's stability just to hurt me? I do what I have to do to get what I deserve. Maya stood up, her decision made. Then I guess I'll see you in court. As she walked away, Derek called after her. You have 48 hours to reconsider, Maya. After that, things get complicated for everyone. Maya didn't look back, but her hands were shaking as she pushed through the cafe door into the bright afternoon sunlight. Maya barely slept that night. Derek's 48-hour ultimatum hung over her like a sword, and despite Margaret's reassurances about their legal position, she couldn't shake the fear that fighting back would only make things worse. She was feeding Isabella breakfast when Cameron appeared in the kitchen earlier than usual, already dressed for the office but carrying 2 cups of coffee. Rough night? He asked, setting 1 cup beside her. Is it that obvious? Cameron sat down across from her, his expression serious. Maya, I want to discuss something with you, but I need you to hear me out completely before you respond. Maya's stomach dropped. You're firing me. What? No, God, no. Cameron ran a hand through his hair. I want to offer Derek the $50,000. Maya stared at him. Absolutely not. Maya, listen. No, Cameron, I won't let you pay my extortion money. That's not what this relationship is about. Cameron was quiet for a moment. What is this relationship about, Maya? The question hung between them, loaded with implications neither of them had been brave enough to address directly. I don't know, Maya said honestly, but I know it's not about you rescuing me from my problems. What if I told you it wasn't about rescuing you? What if I told you it was about me being selfish? Maya looked up sharply. What do you mean? Cameron took a deep breath. I mean that when Derek threatened to take you and Isabella away, my first thought wasn't about losing a good employee. It was about losing you, both of you, and that terrified me more than any business crisis I've ever faced. Maya felt her heart racing. Cameron, I know the timing is terrible. I know you're dealing with enough complications without me adding more, but I can't pretend anymore that what I feel for you is purely professional. Before Maya could respond, her phone rang. Margaret Walsh's name appeared on the screen. Maya, you need to see the news, Margaret said without preamble. Derek went to the media. Maya's blood turned to ice. What do you mean? Channel 7 is running a story about you and Cameron. They're calling it Billionaire's Employee Accused of Using a Baby for Financial Gain. Derek gave them an interview claiming you're manipulating Cameron for money and refusing to let him see his daughter. Maya felt the room spinning around her. Everything she'd feared was happening. Her private life was being turned into a public spectacle, and Cameron was being dragged down with her. I have to go, she said to Margaret, then looked at Cameron with tears in her eyes. I'm so sorry. I'm going to pack Isabella's things and you're not going anywhere, Cameron said firmly. Cameron, this is exactly what Derek wanted. He's made this into a scandal that could hurt your business, your reputation. I don't care about any of that. You should care. This affects Sophia too. What happens when her classmates see this story, when she has to defend her father's choices? Cameron's phone buzzed with a text message. He glanced at it and smiled grimly. Actually, I think Sophia can handle herself just fine. He showed Maya the message. Dad saw the news. Maya is family now. Anyone who messes with family messes with me. Also, Derek looks like a weasel. Love you both. Despite everything, Maya felt tears of gratitude rather than despair. She shouldn't have to deal with this mess, Maya said. Maya, do you know what Sophia told me last week? Maya shook her head. She said that for the first time since her mother died, our house feels like a home again. She said, you've helped her remember that loving new people doesn't mean forgetting the people we've lost. Maya's resolve was crumbling, but the media attention, the legal battles, will all be worth it if you'll give us a chance to be a real family. Before Maya could respond, the doorbell rang. Through the front window, they could see news vans lining the street. Cameron stood up decisively. "Margaret's right. We need to control the narrative, but not by hiding or running away." "What do you mean?" "I mean we tell our story, the real story, on our terms." An hour later, Maya found herself standing beside Cameron in front of the Blackstone estate, facing a crowd of reporters and cameras. Isabella was in her arms, calm despite the chaos around them. Cameron stepped to the microphone first. "I'll make a brief statement, then we'll take a few questions. 7 months ago, I received a text message that was meant for someone else. A young mother, desperately trying to feed her daughter, had accidentally reached out to a stranger for help. I could have ignored that message. I could have written it off as someone else's problem." He paused, looking directly at Maya. "Instead, I met one of the strongest, most determined people I've ever known. Maya Rodriguez wasn't looking for charity or handouts. She was looking for an opportunity to build a better life for her daughter. I was honored to provide that opportunity." A reporter shouted a question about their relationship, but Cameron continued. "What developed between us happened naturally, over time, based on mutual respect and genuine affection. Maya has never asked me for anything beyond the chance to prove herself professionally. Her ex-partner's claims are not just false, they're insulting to a woman who has worked tirelessly to provide for her child with dignity and independence." Maya stepped forward, her voice steady despite her nervousness. "Derek Thompson abandoned Isabella and me when she was born. He provided no support, no contact, no acknowledgement of his daughter's existence until he saw an opportunity to profit from our success. I will not allow my daughter to be used as leverage in his schemes, and I will not allow him to tarnish the reputation of a man who has shown us nothing but kindness." She looked directly into the cameras. "I'm not a victim, and I'm not a gold digger. I'm a mother who found a second chance, and a family who found each other through an accident that turned out to be the best mistake of our lives." The reporters erupted with questions, but Cameron held up his hand. "We won't be taking questions today, but I will say this. Maya Rodriguez is not my employee anymore." Maya's heart stopped. This was it. He was cutting ties to protect himself. Cameron turned to her, pulling a small velvet box from his pocket. "Maya, you said you didn't know what our relationship was about. I'd like to propose that it's about love. About choosing a family. About two people who were brave enough to text the wrong number at exactly the right time." He dropped to one knee as cameras flashed around them. "Will you marry me?" Maya stared at him, at the ring, at the reporters who had come to document a scandal and were instead witnessing a proposal. "Are you serious?" she whispered. "I've never been more serious about anything in my life." Maya looked down at Isabella, who was reaching toward Cameron with perfect trust, then back at the man who had somehow turned her moment of deepest desperation into the beginning of her greatest joy. "Yes," she said, loud enough for the cameras to catch. "Yes, I'll marry you." As Cameron slipped the ring onto her finger, Maya heard the reporter's questions shift from accusations to congratulations. Derek's attempt to destroy her life had backfired spectacularly. Later that evening, after the news vans had departed and the chaos had subsided, Maya sat in the kitchen where she'd first cooked empanadas with Sophia. Cameron was on a video call with his daughter, sharing the news of their engagement. "Does this mean Maya is going to be my stepmom?" Sophia asked, her excitement evident even through the computer screen. "If she'll have us," Cameron replied. Sophia's grin was radiant. "Maya, are you ready to deal with 2 Blackstones instead of just one?" Maya laughed, feeling lighter than she had in months. "I think I can handle it." "Good, because I'm coming home next weekend to help plan the wedding." And Maya, Thank you for accidentally texting my dad. It was the worst number in history. As the call ended, Maya reflected on the chain of events that had brought her here. A moment of desperation, a mistaken text, a stranger's kindness, and, somehow, a love story that had survived scandal and emerged stronger. Isabella gurgled happily from her high chair, reaching for the engagement ring that caught the light and threw rainbows across the kitchen wall. Sometimes, Maya thought, the most beautiful families are the ones that find each other by accident and choose each other on purpose. 6 months later, at their wedding, Cameron's best man read a text message as his speech, desperate for baby formula. Isabella hasn't eaten in hours. Please help. Sometimes, the best man said, love really is just one text away. And as Maya and Cameron kissed for the first time as husband and wife, Isabella clapped her tiny hands from Elena's arms, and somewhere in Connecticut, Sophia cheered through her laptop screen during the live stream she'd insisted on so she wouldn't miss a moment. The accidental text had become an intentional family, and Maya finally understood that some mistakes are actually miracles in disguise. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hits the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.